Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is September the 4th on a Friday. I'm going to take a little trip over to Del Mar College and film some footage for our South Texas News and Reviews show. Any comments, you've got the email address at the bottom, gsansing@gmail.com, or if you want to view this on YouTube, then go into YouTube and put in Gerald Sansing. Be right back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm over at Del Mar for another week of running through the palm fronds. I'm going to walk over there and show you how much fun it is to have to walk through these things down a sidewalk you can imagine at night. See what I'm talking about? Smack in the face with this one. Blowing a little bit, you get smacked in the face with that one. And then it's not much better around the bend here. There's another one I'm going to show you, which is right here. Okay, so I'll go back here again. Dance back through that one. And this is $14,000 roughly a month for the yard work. Then if I come over here, I've shown you this before, but we still have all of this trash down here. It's laying on the ground that cannot be picked up underneath the palm trees. Okay, and then I'm going to go over here through this one again. I know it's jiggling it around. I just don't want to have to turn it off and on, and I can still make commentary. It's so beautiful around here that you can see the weeds on the ground, and then you can see the extraneous trees and so forth that are growing up in between here. And there's another one down there. So that's what we're faced with. Okay, I'm set again here. I'm going to walk under this tree and see how much fun it is to get my eyeballs poked out by low-flying oak limbs. To a parking lot with that, and it doesn't seem like there's any end to it, folks. And then we do have dead trees over here. If you can see that palm tree growing next to the dead oak tree. I mean, it's just a marvelous way to have to spend a day at Del Mar College with all this garbage. Then we have the handicap ramp coming out of one of the buildings into the bushes there, and you can see the weeds growing out. They're coming out on top of the sidewalk here. We can't even trim those back. I mean, I'm no yards keeper, folks, but I know I'm a taxpayer and I'm spending a whole lot of money for this. Okay, here's a nice oleanders in front of a building. We've got enough Johnson grass in there to feed a cow for a year if they were to come by here and bale it. Then I'm just going to go down here a little bit, and there's some vines and stuff growing out. I'll plant this back down here. Like I say, I'm sorry to jiggle you around a little bit, but if you can see, you got vines growing out of this, and Johnson grass and all kinds of weeds I don't even know. So all I'm saying is, something's got to give, folks. Something's got to give. Okay, this is next to the administration building where everybody walks by, and you can see that mess. And then if you look around here in these bushes over here next to the window, then you can observe bushes, weeds and stuff crawling up the outside of some of the faculty office windows. I mean, it's gorgeous. And then of course we got the usual pop bottles and stuff in there. And I don't know why we can't afford just a little bit of water. We've got $73 million surplus over the last 11 years, and you'd think they could put a little bit of water out here and save all that landscaping. But that's not my call. So call your Board of Regents member. Okay, I have addressed that poor dead split leaf right there, and now it's been a month or two since that thing died. It's just going to pot right there. That's a real sightly looking mess when you go into the admin building, and then if you pan around you can see that all the dead leaves and all are blowing all over campus. And that's another good reason to get this stuff picked up, folks. but I don't know where $13,000 to $14,000 a month goes for the groundskeeping. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take my seat. I just gave you a little tour of Delmar College over there. I'll talk a little bit more about the significance of those scenes that I showed you. So I'll take my seat here, make this one continuous run. I started this film the other day, I think on the 3rd. Today is the 6th. I'm winding things up. I've been trying to get a lot of stuff done and take care of business. So what I'm going to do is go turn the lights on first. It's been one of those days, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to cut this out of the show. I'll just admit it. This has been one heck of a week at Delmar College, and with taxpayers and everything else under the sun. So you'll just have to pardon me. This is a one-man show. I know my videographer's going to come unglued with me, but that's all right. A lot of people do. You'll get over it. Now, I'd like to go ahead and tell you that this show airs at 9 o'clock on Mondays and then again on Thursdays. But you can look that up. We're also on YouTube. But I want to go ahead and explain what was on the beginning of the show. Not me messing up with the lights necessarily, but just the overall general reason why I filmed part of Delmar College, particularly around my building over there, the one I work in, which is the Garcia Science Building. Okay? Now, all of this mess started at Delmar College, and it was instituted by the president several years ago. And with all of the advice he gets from people that are not accountants and not CPAs and so forth, then he felt compelled to listen to those people. And what he did was he went and fired all the groundskeepers. Now, we had a groundskeepers crew who were local citizens. They're citizens of Corpus Christi, Texas. And they depended on their employment at Delmar for benefits, health insurance, and that type of stuff, and a possible good future and a retirement, which is what a community college ought to be concerned with this, if they're community college. I mean, that's what it's termed. The community's paying for that, and I think that we ought to have local people that are employed. Okay? Now, so Dr. Escamilla went ahead and agreed to fire the groundskeepers, and they had kept that place in very good shape. It was always well groomed and so forth and so on, well watered and so forth. Now, the films that I showed you, or the clips in the beginning of this show, let you know how much that the groundskeeping company that was hired to perform our duties over there means to not only them, but to the taxpayers, which is you, of Delmar College. Now, we've hired some of those groundskeepers back as they're called porters, and they go out there and do an awful lot of work. As far as I'm concerned, they're overworked compared to most employees at Delmar College, and it was at a reduced pay that they brought them back. Now, if you take a look at what happened with those trees, then whoever in the world, and I know who it was, formulated that contract with that groundskeeping company. We're paying them about $13,000 to $14,000 per month to bring in workers that I don't know where they're from. Okay, they're out of town, and they come whizzing in, and they just cut and blow and so forth and so on. But I guess in that contract they did not have a provision to keep those trees trimmed. Okay, and there are a lot of things that we have to do, I guess, to get that company that's outside of the contract. We pay them extra to do what the groundskeepers used to take care of themselves. So, you know, I don't know what's going on over there, who hired these people, why they hired them, and they said it was to save money. Well, if we've got all these extra duties that we have to pay for, in addition to $13,000 some odd per month, then I don't think that's much of a bargain. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for the cost comparison, and I know that'll take about 3 years through Public Information Act requests, because Del Mar College will not answer questions in a timely manner. I don't know how they snuck through with this. I'm still raising hell with the Attorney General's office, who has the rules and regulations about Public Information Act requests and open meetings, and I'll address that a little bit more. But I've been there for over 25 years, folks, and I am terribly, terribly disappointed in that administration. And every time I look, there are job ads after job ads. We've got this administrative bloat going on. We've gone from 58, 59% of the budget 20 years ago, roughly, for instruction, down to 36% these days. And they don't admit to administrative bloat, but everybody over there is an assistant dean, an assistant to the assistant dean, and they're more deans over there than they've got at Harvard University. And it's just a total, complete waste of money for the taxpayers to bloat that administration, and not anything's getting done. It's going downhill from what it used to be when we had half the number of administrators. So you go figure with that. Okay, maybe that's the reason for that would be to take a look at the background of our administrators. The top administrator over there has a PhD in community college administration. Okay, all right. Now, so why aren't those trees trimmed? Now we have a vice president in charge of financial end of it, and I think administration now. They change over there every week on designation of who's doing what. But the man has never had an accounting course in his life that we can find, you know, as far as in resumes and so forth and so on, and transcripts. But he's running around hiring all these other companies, saying that we're saving money. Well, what are we saving money for? To hire more administrators? Because that school, I hear it every day from students, ladies and gentlemen. They say, why in the world can't I get a telephone call answered? Why can't I go to one person over there and get answers? I'm shuffled around for 2 and 3 days, and I still don't know any more about the functioning and what I'm supposed to do to enroll and to take care of myself at Del Mar College than I did when I started all this mess. So what do? A lot of them are packing up, going out to A&M, Corpus Christi, or traveling down to Kingsville, or just throwing their hands up and saying, hey, Del Mar College ain't worth it. Now, if anybody out there would like to talk to some of those students, then I can put you in touch with any and all of them, okay? But they're disgusted, folks. Now, and then we're preaching that we're bursting at the seams at Del Mar College. We need a south campus so that people don't have to drive so far and to take all this overage of all these students that are enrolled. And we're bursting at the seams when our enrollment over the last 3 or 4 years is down 18%. Now, can you explain that to me? I mean, I don't understand math at the level that Del Mar College either preaches it, or maybe I hope they don't teach students that type of math. Okay, and you know, it's a general perception by many of us that are in the trenches over there that we're thought of as being absolute idiots because nobody has said anything except a couple of us. So I'm going to start screaming and yelling, folks, and I'm not letting up until something changes and for the better. And I want to see the school back where it was 25 years ago when I came aboard, when it was one of the most highly rated and respected community colleges in the country. And now most people don't hear about anything over there except what's wrong with the place. Okay? That's not what thrills me to go over there and go to work. Okay? So you've seen the palm fronds. I walked through those. I walked through some of the limbs. So is Del Mar going to do their usual lately and just wait for somebody to poke their eye out, or have a limb fall on them, or you know, have people go over there and see that horrible looking campus? I mean, it's an abysmal situation, folks. Okay. Now, also at the same time, that Dr. Escamilla fired the groundskeepers. He also fired a bunch of full-time workers who were custodians. And my building, the Garcia Science Building, and before that the St. Clair Building, before they converted that to a high school, which is just what we need on campus, then you could eat off the floors. We had a custodian, Mr. Mike Reardon. I don't know if he watches this on YouTube or on TV or whatever. I hope you do, Mike. I wish you well. You were fired unceremoniously over there. But that place, that custodial service, is not what it was cranked up to be. Now, I tried to, back in, I think it was 2012, when this transition happened, and I'm going to read the letter here. I was very concerned because I went to the prep, all the hoopla about how great this custodial service was. They had examined that, and the powers to be had selected it as one of the best around to replace all of our hard-working full-time custodial staff who were trying to make a living. They did have the benefits, folks. Now, what we've got now are a bunch of folks. Some of them are very nice individuals, don't get me wrong, but it's my understanding that they are part-time, minimum wage people, okay? And I can tell you that the custodial services at Del Mar College are not anywhere 10% of what they used to be when we had the full-timers over there. But on January 12th, 2012, when this all transpired, I wrote a letter to Dr. Escamilla and said, I'm extremely concerned by the fact that I am being held solely responsible for both the content and the overall safety in my microbiology laboratory and the adjoining stockroom, and I give the numbers. Okay, I'm equally concerned with having untrained custodians in my lab and nothing but a small sign preventing their entry into the adjoining stockroom. My main concern is the prospect that someone will injure themselves and I will spend the remainder of my life in court fighting a lawsuit filed by a personal injury attorney. Okay? Knowing firsthand that Del Mar contracts with me and the corresponding college policies are often violated and that faculty members are not protected by such documents, I do not trust that I am at all protected in the event that anyone injures themselves in my lab or stockroom if I am not present. Okay? The custodians, folks, are not trained to take care of a spill. If they knock over a bottle of acid or another reagent that's harmful, or in the micro lab, I've got a bunch of living critters and liquids and flasks and so forth. And if somebody knocks one over, if they just go over there and start mopping it up with their hands and picking up broken glass and so forth, then somebody's going to be injured. And that could lead to, some other dire consequences. And the UCLA deal a couple of years ago where a student went into a chemistry lab and burned herself up, killed herself, then that wonderful prosecutor out there filed not only civil suits against the president of UCLA and the professor whose lab that was, they filed criminal charges up to and including, I think it was, manslaughter. Now, do I need that because somebody hired a company that will not train their custodians to the standards that they said they would, which was we're going to clean this campus to hospital standards? That's a big load of hooey, folks. Then I said, therefore I'm requesting that a legally binding, hold harmless document be provided to me by Del Mar College through its attorney and then college and Board of Regents, and that a copy of this letter be placed into my permanent Del Mar College personnel file. That never happened. I did not get any response back from one Dr. Mark Escamilla, president of Del Mar College. I've said under many circumstances I don't think the man gives a tinker's damn about this health and welfare of the employees at Del Mar College. Until he proves me otherwise, I'm just going to keep saying that. Okay? All right, then after what's happened here, I'm going to read this one to you. It says, please be advised that on January 12, 2012, I submitted a request of you, copy attached, for a legally binding, hold harmless document to be placed in my permanent Del Mar College personnel file. My request was the result of the college firing all of the full-time custodians and hiring a contract custodial company. Now that custodial company costs us $83,000 plus per month. We're spending $1 million a year over there and getting essentially nothing. Okay? Alright, the full-time Del Mar College employees were trained by me in matters concerning liquid spills in the microbiology lab. That was Mr. Reardon and anybody else that worked in there. I showed them what to do, and I said, don't try to clean it up. I said, run out of that lab, come and find a bona fide professor over there, somebody that knows what's going on, and preferably me. Here's my telephone number. Call me anytime, day or night, and I'll go take care of it. But do not put yourself into jeopardy, because I know how to handle those spills, and you do not. I don't want you at risk to be harmed. Okay? Then I went on. Therefore, in order to protect myself, I have been serving as the custodian responsible for maintaining my lab, including scrubbing and waxing of the floors, cleaning marker boards. I don't let anybody in there, no custodian, under any circumstances, to do anything. And I even put the trash cans in the hall so they will be dumped. Okay? This is to protect myself because I have an administration that ignores the requests, legitimate requests of employees. Okay? Now that I have decided to quit conducting overload classes, other instructors will be using the lab. For that reason, I am ceasing my custodial duties, and I will turn over the duties to the untrained contracted custodians. Since I have never received a reply to my January 12, 2012 letter, the one I wrote a minute ago, I am now going to once again try to protect myself from any lawsuits resulting from untrained custodians harming themselves while cleaning the lab and or stockroom. I have learned over the time that you have been the president of this college that you do not care at all about the health and welfare of employees. And I'll stand by that, Dr. Escamilla. Okay, I can prove it. I will hope that you are prudent enough to address this request and not ignore it, or me, one more time. And this went out September 2nd. Today's the 6th, and I doubt that I'll ever have anything in response to this one. But I'm going to go ahead and put this on record. I'm going to make a copy and maintain a copy of this DVD of this show, so if anything happens, then I will have read in public, okay, what needed to be read so that I can get some type of vindication. Now at the end of the show, I'm going to end it not with the banner again. I'm going to end it with a picture of me that wound up on the front page of the Del Mar College Foghorn, that's the student newspaper, with me with my mop and my mop bucket back in many years ago when I had to start cleaning my own lab up, because the administration at Del Mar College doesn't give a damn. That's my personal opinion. Okay? All right, now, so I have done that, okay? And then I'll show you a picture of that at the end of the thing. Now, parking lot fees. We had an instance, because I'm considered by the administration to be an idiot. I just happen to have a PhD in microbiology as well as biochemistry. So it's really microbial biochemistry overall. I know the animal and the plant and so forth biochem and the microbiology thereof. I have worked in medical schools before. I've had postdocs with some of the finest toxicologists and microbiologists in the country, and my expertise was toxic molds and toxic bacteria and the toxins produced by those. Okay, I've produced a lot of very, very toxic materials. Now, for a while in Corpus Christi, Texas, I was asked, because of my extensive background in molds and bacteria, to inspect about 500 structures for mold during the mold heyday. Okay, so I know what I'm doing. Now, my CFO over here, the Chief Financial Officer, has never cared for me at all, because I am rather vocal at times. But the bottom line is, he says, well, when you went over there at the request of several faculty members and employees into the Venters building, and you went over there and sampled for mold and so forth, and you said you need to clean this place out. It needs to be contained. It needs to be done properly. I even suggested a crew to go in there and oversee that whole remediation of that building, because we had some sick people over there. Okay? My friends, for instance. Now, and that wasn't the priority. I don't care if they're friend or foe or whatever. They didn't deserve to be into that mess over there with contaminated air conditioning ducts. So they relied on a sampling, a report that was done by a person that held a high school diploma from Kingsville, and they went in there and didn't know what in the hell they were doing, and they convinced everybody it was a planter and that's where all the mold was coming from. Okay. Well, I know better than that, folks. Now, my CFO over there has always said, well, Sansing doesn't know what the hell he's talking about because he does not hold a license in the state of Texas to determine mold levels and to determine whether a building needs remediation or not. Now, in the middle of all of that 500 houses that I was doing, the state all of a sudden, since a lot of people were being ripped off by people that didn't know what they were doing, they required a license for mold testing and remediation writing and so forth and so on, and then follow-ups. Now, I called the state, the person in charge of that, who claimed to be a PhD. It didn't tell me in what. I think it's stupidity. But anyway, I said, look, I've got a master's degree and a PhD in microbiology. My expertise is toxic mold and toxic bacteria. So what do I have to do to get this, quote, license? Well, sir, he said, if you will send us your resume and your transcripts, then we will sit down and try to evaluate that and see if that PhD in microbiology is equivalent to a bachelor's degree in biology. Now, I didn't have the heart to tell him I had one of those too, okay? So I just said, to hell with this. I'm not putting up with these morons. No thank you. I'm just not going to tolerate it. So, Dr. Sloan, that's the reason that I don't have that little chicken manure piece of paper that the high school diploma guy from Kingsville's got. And, you know, you've really blown it. Then you go out and hire a bunch of people that were slopping around over there. They were hauling contaminated ductwork out without covering it up. It was an abomination. And I'm going to ask for all of the testing that went on over there, and I want to find out who did that. And, you know, maybe the state that issues the licenses up there will wake up and say, you guys really screwed it up. Okay. That's not a threat, that's a statement of fact. Okay. Now, speaking of Dr. Sloan, during that whole debacle when they were taking the contaminated ductwork out through the elevators without covering anything up, they had mold spores flying everywhere, contaminating the carpet, the walls, the ceilings, and everything else over there. And it was totally and completely against any microbiological practice that should have been done. It was one hell of a sloppy job. Okay? Then they dumped all that stuff out in dumpsters. Now, what they did in order to get the contractors into the parking lot that's gated between my building, the Garcia Science Building, and the Venner's Business Building over there, then they had disarmed and disabled the gates. Now, I pay $10 a month. I know that's not much. But when you pay for a service and then you don't get it for 6 months at a time, then it gets a little irritating. I'd rather have the $10 a month to go do what I want to with it. So I wrote 3 requests of Dr. Sloan. He's the guy that's in charge of all that mess, okay? And asked him why have the gates been down since January? They didn't move those contractors in there until March or April, okay? And, you know, what's up with this? I've had other people approach me, many of the other faculty members that pay money to park in that parking lot. And so I started writing some emails and asking him why, and am I going to get my money back, and how many people are in there that are going to get all their money back. Well, I didn't get any answers, okay? So I wrote 2 to Dr. Sloan without any response whatsoever. Okay, see, the administration doesn't think that they need to respond to anything that an employee asks for. They're gods over there, and they don't have to do that. Okay, so then I wrote Dr. Escamilla one, and he said, well, I'll look into it. And then I get this one. It wasn't to me, it's a third party, and I'm not going to mention names, but I'm going to read this from Dr. Sloan. Okay, I have not responded to Dr. Sansing's emails given that his communications about reserved parking have been through DMC All. That's the email system at Del Mar College. Now what the hell's that got to do with it? Okay? Seriously, Dr. Sloan, you know, if you get any more arrogant, I don't know how you're going to stand it, okay, or anybody else. I've had enough of you. I have responded to each of the faculty staff who have contacted the office directly and explained that the parking gates had been left open to accommodate the numerous contractors who were working day-evening to make repairs in the vendors building before the start of the fall term. Okay? Now, okay, I'll discuss that in a minute. We placed 2 storage containers within the parking area so that we could accelerate the construction process by having construction supplies readily available to the crews performing the work. Although a few individuals may have parked within the reserved parking area during this period without individuals or having paid for the reserved parking, about half of the parking spaces in this lot have been vacant. Okay? No faculty or staff who paid for reserved parking have been denied a reserved parking space or even had difficulty finding that. Well, how the hell do you know? There are 3 parking spaces within that gated lot that are designated specifically for employees. That's Dr. Escamilla's, that's yours, and the Vice President of Instruction / Provost. The interim is Mrs. Keys. Okay? When the Heldenfels building is converted to a student enrollment center in 2019, a different reserved parking arrangement will have to be developed for this location that allows student access to the Heldenfels building. I hope that faculty council and other employee councils will be active participants in this discussion. Okay? Where's my money, Dr. Sloan? Okay? It goes into a sinkhole over there. So, you know, I don't know. And I explained the mess in the vendors building. I'm just, you know, I don't know if anybody's going to sue over their allergy problems over there or not. But Del Mar doesn't care about people with problems and lawsuits and stuff. They've got plenty of money. Then the next one that jumps out, I need to talk about this. There was a woman that worked for Del Mar College by the name of Dr. Janelle Bennett, and she was forced out of her position as a professor of nursing education because 3 students complained about her. She was too tough. Okay? Now, if you look at what it takes to become an RN and a good one, then you need to know what in the hell you're doing. You don't need to be standing around in the hall and not, you know, evaluating your patients and during clinicals and so forth and learning what the whole business is about. Okay? Now, as a consequence, when they said that she was too tough on them and complained about her, the students slandered her in public. Okay? Now, then Dr. Bennett, in order to stop that, filed a libel slander suit against the 3 students because the DMC administration, the Del Mar College administration, would not silence them. They just, you know, I guess some of them over there even condoned having the students go and slander Dr. Bennett. Okay? All right, now, then she went through a nursing peer review where the students, I guess, voiced their opinions. And then they decided they were going to dismiss Dr. Bennett because she had filed a lawsuit against the 3 students, and then they had some other grudges and so forth that they just wanted her out of there, okay, because she's very bright and very vocal. Okay. Now, during the dismissal hearing for Dr. Bennett, I sat through every single minute of those days, She was told by the DMC, Del Mar College hired attorney, Miss Cynthia Cano, all right, that the students were protected under the valid nurse peer review process that was filed with the Texas Board of Nursing. Okay? So she said that Dr. Bennett, since they went over and slandered her, and that she didn't use that term, went over and maligned her at that nursing dismissal hearing, then that Dr. Bennett could not file a lawsuit against them because they were protected by that nurse peer review system. Okay? Now, one remains with a lawsuit against Dr. Bennett, so I hope maybe this will jar that person into reconsidering what goes on. Okay? So Dr. Bennett left Del Mar College. Now, after many months, years, okay, it has been established that there was no valid peer review process in place when Dr. Bennett was subjected to the one that she had to go through. So, oops, okay? What now, Del Mar College and Miss Cano, okay? So we've got it under good authority from the Texas Board of Nursing that one was not in place at the time they put her through that, okay? So I think there's probably a student still out there who's trying to force and get some money out of the Bennetts, okay? Now, I think that this whole thing should go right straight to the AAUP, the American Association of University Professors. It should go to the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, which accredit Del Mar College. I'm going to make sure that it gets there, because when you take the very best of the instructors and the ones that are hard-nosed and know what students need in order to protect you from being under their care, then I've got a hot flash for you folks. That just burns me up. So, you know, Del Mar can try to fire me. I don't really give a damn at this stage of the game. Let's try it and see what happens. But in July 7th, 2015, Dr. Bennett complained to the Attorney General's office about the Board of Nursing not giving her the proper information in a timely manner. Like I say, it's been a long, drawn-out affair. Okay. Now, then with this one, there was a question. Dr. Bennett wanted, under Public Information Act request, the official Del Mar College nurse peer review process documents and any related Del Mar College Executive Committee and or any related committee meeting minutes that are on file with the Texas Board of Nursing on the specific date of October 1, 2012. Okay? Now, I had previously asked for that, and the Board of Nursing said, well, they really couldn't find that, but they'd have to go searching through files. It was not on the electronic versions anymore. Okay, and I got the runaround, and that's in violation of the Public Information Act request system in the state of Texas. Okay, now since the woman up there, Kathy A. Hoffman, Legal Assistant Supervisor, Texas Board of Nursing in Austin, was asked several more times, okay, then she finally sent back and said, through Dr. Bennett's request, based on your email, there are no peer review notes, minutes, etc. on file to question number 1. This was from Dr. Bennett the last time, October 1st, 2012, to which Kathy Hoffman, this attorney up there, the legal assistant supervisor, said, you understand correctly. Please let me know if there is anything else I can help you with. And this came back on July the 9th. Okay? So there was nothing there, ladies and gentlemen. So as far as I'm concerned, that was a very bogus ousting of one of the best professors of nursing that I've ever run across, and I have been in contact with a lot of them, starting with a postdoc at the University of Illinois Medical School back in 1972 to 1974. And I've dealt with an awful lot of physicians and medical people, nurses, and so forth since then. And I have taught unknown thousands of pre-nursing students who are all out making a good living these days, and there are some damn fine nurses, okay? And this just burns me up. Now, the reason I brought up the American Association of University Professors is I just got something 2 to 3 days ago from them, and it says, today the AAUP is releasing a supplementary report about the dismissal of Professor Teresa Bachman from Louisiana State University, Baton Rouge, which has been on the AAUP's list of censured administrations since 2012. Okay? And it says here that the woman was accused by a couple of people for making poorly worded jokes and so forth and so on, and they filed a suit. There is no basis there that anybody can come up with under academic freedom that that person would be dismissed, but LSU is going to do it anyway. So I think that the AAUP needs to be re-informed of what happened to Dr. Bennett, and I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that that happens. Okay? Now, then the next subject I'd like to talk about is back in August of 2013, I heard Dr. Lee Sloan, the CFO, Chief Financial Officer at Del Mar College, at a workshop make some statements that concerned me deeply about writing off debt. Okay? So I asked for all the debt that was written off for a certain period of time, and I discovered out of 5 feet of material, not any collection. He said that he had exhausted all collection efforts for that money, and he wanted to write off. It was $185,750.64. Okay. Now I looked down this list of the write-offs, and a couple of them really grabbed me. One of them was Texas A&M University, Kingsville. They owed Del Mar, apparently, according to Dr. Sloan, okay, $54,267.29. Now, I have tried to get that information concerning what was written off, what was the debt that was incurred, and to this day I still not have able to understand and get the proper documents that tell me exactly to the dollar and to the penny where your taxpayer money went. Okay? That was money owed to you, taxpayers, and they just willy-nilly, without any written confirmation that they could provide to me, that they were going to go ahead and go after the money before they wrote it off. You know, you'd think you'd sue A&M Kingsville for that. Okay? Just go down to the JP court and the county court and file a suit against them for collection. There were no documents whatsoever that anything was attempted. Now, another one that bothered me was here's the Coastal Bend Council of Governments owed Del Mar College $89,073.50, and it was written off. Okay? Now, I've been trying to, along with the CPA partner of mine, okay, trying to get the information about how much that money, you know, why do they owe that Del Mar that kind of money? There's got to be some paperwork somewhere, either at that institution or at Del Mar, which would justify taking that off the books as an asset and owed to Del Mar College. That's you taxpayers out there, folks. Okay? Now, we've been trying to, since 2013, to get that information. Okay? Now, after a letter to the Attorney General by my partner, Mr. Ed Bennett, okay, whose master's degree, Master of Science degree in accountancy, and a CPA and a BBA in accounting in addition to that, then the Attorney General wrote him back the other day, and it says, "Dear Mr. Bennett, this will acknowledge receipt of your corresponding correspondence asking this office for assistance in obtaining information you requested from the Coastal Bend Council of Governments, the Council under Public Information Act, the Act, Chapter 552 of the Government Code. Your correspondence was designated ID number so-and-so. The Council informs us it does not have any information responsive to your request. When a governmental body represents to this office it has no responsive information, we must accept that representation. Under the Act, the enforcement authority of the Office of the Attorney General does not include on-site inspections of records held by other governmental office, okay? Or by another governmental office. See Government Code 552.321. Accordingly, we will close our file on this matter. Okay, if you have questions regarding this letter, please call the Open Government Hotline. And this was from Neil Falgost, Assistant Attorney General, Education and Enforcement Section, Open Records Division. Okay, now, they also included Public Information Act Request Certification Form, government body, and it says OAG ID number so-and-so. Now, it says that what they did is they asked for a person with the Coastal Bend Council of Governments, okay, to fill one of these three sections out. And it says in the alternative, this was the second one, as Officer for Public Information for Coastal Bend Council of Governments, I certify that I have conducted a good faith search of information that this governmental body owns, controls, or has right of access to, and I have found no such information that is responsive to the request of, and it has the ID number there. Okay? So the Coastal Bend College Council of Governments has denied any knowledge of owing Del Mar College $89,073.50. That's your money, taxpayers. Okay? And if that doesn't burn you up, I don't know what it's going to take. So my next step is on this coming Tuesday. Monday is Labor Day. Then I'm going to ask Del Mar College one more time for any documents that they have in support of writing this off. I mean, it's written off, it's documented, your tax money's gone, ladies and gentlemen. They've written off $89,000 plus that was owed to you. And the people that Del Mar says owed it deny any knowledge of it. Okay. How do you like that? Isn't that wonderful? Okay. Now another thing that's going around is this, the fact that we have had surpluses in the Del Mar College budget for at least 11 years. And the total surplus money that we have been able to establish an amount of $73 million was in light of the fact that Del Mar said that they didn't have any money to pay raises for anybody. Okay? So I've got a list here of the amount of money that was owed, or the surplus money, like 2012 was a little over $10 million. Then 2013 was $11 million. And then 2014 appears to be about $8.385 million. But since 2005, it's been about $73 million, just to round it off. Now, where is that money? Okay? All right. Now, here's the document I've read before, you know, and this was the question. Is too much budget surplus a bad thing? Okay? Yes. Do you know what it means? Question mark. It means that the government has collected more taxes than necessary for their spending programs. The problem comes when the government then keeps that money, spends even more, and continues to expect those same revenues year after year. And that's exactly what's happened at Del Mar College. So, ladies and gentlemen, they're ripping you off, okay, to the tune of $73 million. And what they do with that is they go out and spend that money to buy a 95-acre South Campus proposal that they've got, and you did not have the chance to vote on whether they should spend $7 million for 95 acres, and then they're going to go after you for another $200 million probably in bond money. to build a campus out there when we are 18% lower student enrollment than we were 3 or 4 years ago? I mean, come on, folks. I mean, I hope I'm not that gullible, but you know, you need to get up in arms. You need to start calling these people over there on the Board of Regents. And the president of the Board of Regents claims that he has an MBA degree. I don't think he's a certified public accountant, but he claimed on a board meeting the other day, I just happened to have a copy of the DVD, where he said that he was an accountant at one time and he knows accounting, and he's a vice president of one of the large banks around here, locally owned banks, and he knows what he's doing. So why didn't he know that you're not supposed to, as a governmental entity, Del Mar College, taxpayer entity, supported entity, come up with surpluses to the tune of $73 million? Where is that money? And his name is Mr. Trey McCampbell, so he's going to have to provide me with the documentation for his background in accounting and so forth, and I want to know where the hell money is. Okay? I know where $7 million is. It's out there with that floodplain, that swampland, that they're going to try to build a south side campus at your expense for another $20 million when we already have the highest debt per student in the state of any community college. Then they've come up with a new budget here, okay? And since Mr. Bennett and myself, with BS Investigations is what we call our group, okay, we have uncovered the fact that the accounting stinks at Del Mar College. You can't come up with overages of $73 million and hide it. Then where'd the money go? Now, we haven't had an internal auditor over here for ages, but the audit fees in 2015 for Del Mar College was $43,557. Now, the new budget for 2016, which the college has just approved, they're asking for $310,000 to run the audits from now on. And then we get a letter on the 12th of August from Dr. Mark Escamilla. Dear college community, over the last year, college officials recognized the need to revitalize and outsource our internal audit function. No joke, Dr. Escamilla. So you mean it takes a faculty member and a CPA to go over there and figure out that you people have been screwing around now for several years without internal audit services? You've come up with all these surpluses, and you know, what can I say? Big surprise. And here you're going to try to schmooze over with this, and it says the goal of internal audit, focus of internal audit, first steps. So anyway, you know, now they're going to spend $310,000 to protect their butts over there and get it on. Then we've got legal fees, and they say they don't, you know, I don't think they stayed within their allotment. But let me show you, every month when they have the board meetings, they have to go through this, okay? But they print out the financial record system, Bank 41 colleague disbursements for dates 6/01/15 through 6/30/15. Now we have one attorney, and this was the lowest I've ever seen them. It's Graves, Daughtry, Heron, and Moody, I think it is, out of Austin. Legal fees for that period from 6/01 to 6/30/15 was $4,935. Okay, and the legal fees to Dunn, Weatherett, Coffey, and Rivera. Augustin Rivera is the board attorney. Then legal fees were $7,210. Okay. And that's all I really recognized in there. Then out comes the July 1st, 15 through July 31st. This was just put out a couple of days ago. Then what we have here is we have Dunn, Weatherford, Coffey, and Heron, I think it is, out of Austin. No, Dunn, Weatherford, Coffey, and Rivera. This is our local one. For that period of time, they were billed and cut a check on the 30th of July for $8,277.50. Okay. Now, at the same time, during the same time period, Graves, Daughtry, Heron, out of Austin, here's the amount. Okay, $47,145.66. In addition to that one, then Graves, Daughtry, Heron also on the 28th received a check for $4,120. Okay, so we're up about 51 grand. And then we've got Graves, Daughtry, Heron, etc. out of Austin, Texas. On the 23rd of July, they received a check for legal fees for $7,491.71. So that's bumping what, 50 grand at least. Okay. All right, and then here's that other one that we had that was $47,000. So we're looking at 60 grand in a month for legal fees. Now I know where a bunch of that money goes. It's fighting lawsuits. So I'll go through this. Now Del Mar College is accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. And every 10 years they have to file a massive report. And part of that report is called Qualified Administrative / Academic Officers. And in here, review of committee findings, okay, it says, this is from Sachs. However, the college has not had stable leadership in the role of the chief financial officer. The institution's CFO of 20 years retired in 2008. Okay, that was Mr. Alanese. Okay. The position was filled on an interim basis until January 2009 when a retired CFO from another retired CFO from another Texas college. Okay. The college has made 2 attempts at filing this position or filling it on a permanent basis, but it hasn't been done. So Sachs is concerned about this, folks, and then it addresses Dr. Lee Sloan was appointed as the interim Vice President of Administration and Finance in August 2019 after several failed searches to fill the position. Dr. Sloan has served as an academic dean and so forth and so on. But the man's never had a accounting course. And I'm going to wrap it up here pretty quickly, and then I'll show you a picture of me, and then I'm going to discuss the fact that Del Mar College has sued the Attorney General's office to withhold a bunch of information from me that I needed to defend myself against some lies that were told about me and to me by my department chair and my dean. Okay, then it says compliance certification. Judgment of compliance. Okay, it says that Del Mar College thinks that they're in compliance. It says Del Mar College is authorized to award degrees and certificates of completion of higher education and so forth and so on. Alright, but it says that the institution has degree granting authority from appropriate government agencies. But then it also says that they are in compliance with and so forth. They abide by and try to take care of the people that are paying for their employment and so forth, which is you and I, okay, as taxpayers. And they haven't lived up to that, folks. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take the clock over, and I'm going to shut it down, and I am going to bring back the picture of me as a head custodian in my laboratories. And please call your regent and raise hell with them about the lack of any control by administration at Del Mar College. Be right back. Okay, I'd like to thank a friend of mine for helping me pick these roses out, and thank you, Miss T. But anyway, here's a picture of me several years ago. I'm head custodian of the lab. I'll just let this run its course out. Call your regent, folks, and vote next time. Let's get some of these bums out of here.